Hi to my Greek readers, I'm Jo Nesbo and I'm here to speak about my new thriller Macbeth. When I was contacted and asked to do a story based on one of the Shakespeare plays, my immediate answer was that I'll do it if I can have Macbeth. I guess because Macbeth was the play that I had a relationship to from when I was young. I watched the Roman Polanski movie. I had seen it in the theater, and it was for some reason Shakespeare is not that. It's not something that you learn about in school in Norway. So we have more a close relation, or to the degree that we have any relationship to Shakespeare at all. We have it more through English TV series and watching British movies and references to Shakespeare. But I had sort of found Shakespeare on my own through some wonderful Norwegian translations by André Bjerke, who's a famous Norwegian poet and writer. So I was immediately, attracted to the idea of actually using the skeleton of the Macbeth, the play, and write a story, a thriller based on that. I knew immediately that I couldn't compete with the poetry of Shakespeare. So my first, what I knew from the start was I'm not going to use anything of the Shakespearean prose in it. I'm just going to use the skeleton, the story, and this all happened during, I think, that conversation. When I was first asked, I knew, okay, I know what I want to do, and I know how I want to do it. The most important similarity between Macbeth and my main character in the Harry Hole series, Harry Hole, is that you are never quite sure what he's going to do in a moral dilemma. And I think that is what makes them interesting, is that they are sort of anti-heroes. Although that's a cliche, I think it's still suitable for both of them. They expose their human weaknesses, and I think Harry, who is probably during the series become more similar to the criminals he are chasing than his colleagues at the police house. I think it's the same is true for, of course, Macbeth, being at the beginning of the story, the hero, the defender of the new emperor, the new king, who is going to reform the country, or in my case, the police chief going to reform the corrupted city. We then follow this character on his voyage to corruption himself, and giving in to his instincts of wanting power and wanting everything for himself. Macbeth is a man of moral integrity, but he is also capable of loving a woman, in this case lady, who is a former prostitute and now runs the respectable casino in the city. He is capable of loving her so much that he will go along with her demands for him trying to get the position of chief of police at all costs, also sacrificing his own principles of morality. On the other hand, of course, you don't give in to demands like that out of pure love. You down deep there are those ambitions, and there is that dream of becoming something you never believed you could be, that you could actually rule the whole city. So I think he's a very human person, but at the start he is like the local hero. His physical abilities, his courage has won him fame and a position in the police force. But he's not a smart guy. He's not the one that will get to power through his quick thinking and his brain. So Lady is the brain, and Macbeth is in many ways the tool, but no innocent tool. Lady is in many ways the most interesting character, both in the play and maybe in my novel also. Although her motives are quite clear-cut. She grew up in a family. She was abused by her father, a very poor home, and she was able to escape. But her escape was to go into prostitution, and she would gradually put away some money and then be able to become a bordello mama herself. And as she gradually rose through the hierarchy in the city, because some of her clients were of course politicians and people in power, and they would nurture her own ambition. And her main ambition is to become, of course, respectable and be accepted by the people in the city. And that is why her ambition is to start this respectable casino that competes with another casino in the city, which is the not so respectable casino where you have hookers coming. Her casino is she's trying to make it the opposite of what her life has been. This is beautiful, classy place, and she's trying to bury her past in that casino. And when she finds Macbeth, and she's older than Macbeth, so she is like a a modern cougar, I guess, more than Lady in the play. So she is the brain. She is the one that constructs the master plan to overthrow or actually kill the new chief of police in this corrupted city, the one who is going to clean up the city and get rid of corruption and put this poor, crime-ridden city back on the right track. So they will conspire and then kill the chief of police, and that is when their dark travel down into the abyss of murder and bloodbath and defending their throne starts. I've always been, like, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I've always been very fascinated with the 70s. I was too young to really experience the 70s, but I think most of my favorite movies, like Godfather 1 and 2 and The Conversation and all those movies of the 70s, those are still my favorite movies, I think. And especially, I think New York, for some reason, was fascinating during the 70s. I read Basketball Diaries by Jim Carroll, and he writes about growing up in New York during the 70s, and I met some people who grew up in New York in the 70s, like Paul Auster. And I asked him, how was New York in the 70s? And he said, the 70s, it was a grim city. And the 70s, it was nothing like people remember it. They remember the summer of love, material optimism. But if you take a closer look, The 70s was about the Cold War, people waking up every morning with the fear of a nuclear war. It was the Vietnam War, it was political corruption in the United States. It was the big cities like New York, they were crime-ridden, it was pollution, and it was the economy was not going as well as we seem to remember it was. Lots of industries had big troubles during the 70s. So it was, especially in New York, it was a grim time. And I think I wanted to have, although in my Macbeth, it's not New York City, it's not Manhattan, but it has some of the atmosphere from the book, The Basketball Diaries, where you have a big city, at the same time it's a compact city, so you have the feeling that people know each other, all people in power know each other, younger people, they can, when you see a face in the street, it will probably be a familiar face, although it's a big city. So I wanted the city to be big and small at the same time and have all the problems that New York had during the 70s. That is like one big Hell's Kitchen. I'm actually working on a new Harry Hole novel right now. I can't tell you anything about it. I can, but then I would have to shoot you. Yeah.